I personally have experience with marketing for local companies all the way up to global billion-dollar organizations. So I have also experience on both sides of the coin. I have been in the position of working for a company, but I'm also at And Marketing on the other side of that and helping companies and marketing organizations within those companies meet some of their business objectives. So we offer a suite of services, and it's really a tailor-made solution for anybody who needs marketing support. And that doesn't necessarily mean that that company doesn't have marketing. We supplement a marketing staff if you have in-house marketing, but we also provide a whole service for anybody who needs marketing and they don't have it. So I work directly with clients as a marketing director, and I get the privilege of working with Beth on a regular basis, and she is our content manager. So I'm gonna let Beth tell you a little bit more about herself.
Yeah, hi, I'm Beth McDonough. I've been with And Marketing since January of 2018. Before that, that was my first toe in the water of actual marketing. I come from more of an English and a writing background. And so I worked in documents management for a while for a Fortune 500 energy company, and then went back to school and just finished up my master's in English back in December. And so I work with our clients a lot on their content strategy and execution, whether that be helping to use data to pull together content topics and calendar on a quarterly basis so people know what they should be writing and talking about to get more traffic to their website, honing in messaging for actual websites and branding, organic social media and coming up with strategy and content for that. Anywhere from consulting on that to actually doing the meat of the writing, ghost writing on behalf of brands ourselves, or just editing and refining existing content that they create themselves. I'm going to pass it back to Amanda to get started.
Thanks, Beth. So we introduced ourselves, and I'm not going to force anybody to talk who doesn't want to, but we'd love to know who's on the call with us today, and just let us know name, business, and if you're currently using any social media for business at all. Like I said, I'm not going to force anyone to talk, but we hope that this is an open dialogue and an open discussion. So feel free to jump in and let us know who you are and if you're currently using social media right now.
So this is Jennifer Smith. I'm with DK Pierce, and my colleague Katie Walker is on here as well. We're using social media, mostly LinkedIn, on a very limited basis, but definitely want to do more.
I'm Katie Reesner with the Boys and Girls Club of Boone County. We have clubs in Lebanon, Whitestown, and Zionsville, and we have way too many platforms on Facebook. We merged about a year and a half ago, so we're in the process of going from 4 Facebook pages to 1. And then we do a lot of email marketing and a little bit of Twitter for a big event that we have, but that's about it.
I'm Heather Brownell. I'm with Westfield Foot and Ankle, and we do Instagram, or I just set up an Instagram, so I'm trying to learn that. We do Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn using Hootsuite right now.
Anybody else want to share before we jump in? Awesome. Well, thank you. I do see a couple familiar faces from our last one, so thanks for coming back to us. And I'm glad to see some new people too. So today we're going to talk about the importance of content and types of content and where to get inspiration for that, which social platforms to use, and then a couple of best practices for posting. And we want to leave some time for Q&A. I know we didn't have a lot of time last time for Q&A, so I want to make sure that we leave some time for that and open for questions. And I do encourage you to ask questions throughout this presentation. Whenever something comes to you, please feel free to jump in or put it in the chat box, whatever you would like. We'll share this PDF with you after the call, so don't worry about taking notes. We'll share it with you following via email. We're also going to share a social media playbook that we've put together for clients that we'll share with you after this as well. So you'll get a couple of things following this. One of the things that we focus on a lot is content. So I know that this is supposed to be a social media based webinar, but the foundation of any successful marketing strategy is content, and that includes social media. So being able to produce something that is relevant and helpful, that answers questions for your audience and your customers, that drives them to take action, is really the strategy that you want to employ in any of your things that you're doing, whether that's driving people to the website, getting them to buy a product, getting them to take some sort of action, filling out a form. All of those things are aligned to a strategy, and social media is just one of those strategies. So, but the content is really the driving force behind all of those things. It can impact your SEO, which is your search engine optimization, and your organic search, which is your free search. So that's anybody who's going on to Google, for example, and typing in something that's related to your company or related to a product, and you come up in the search results. So the better SEO you have, the higher up in the search results that you have, that you will come up. And that's free for you. That's organic search. So that's not to be confused with paid search. We're going to focus on free social media today. We talked about both last time a little bit, but we're going to focus on the free stuff today. The other part of content is that it really develops you and your company as a thought leader in the industry, and in a way to be seen as the expert in what you're doing. It brings awareness to your brand. And then domain authority, that's also related to organic search and search engine optimization. So the more people that go to your site and get what they're looking for, the higher authority you're going to be seen in Google's eyes. So you're going to come up higher in search results. Your content can also be used for leads and conversions, so turning those people into customers, advertising, and customer engagement. And customer engagement's actually critically important right now, especially because you want to maintain that ongoing relationship with customers and really drive home the notion and the idea that you're still there, you're still working, you're still able to deliver on those needs that they're looking to, the needs and problems that they're looking to solve. And another thing that content is really the driving force behind it is it can be your competitive advantage. So if you look at your competitors and see what they're doing, they might not be doing anything. And so that's your opportunity to really put your company out into the forefront of being the best choice. Customers have a number of choices. So being a thought leader and showing that you can solve those problems and can alleviate those pain points can be your competitive advantage. So really great content is worth the time and the effort. And as I mentioned, it's the foundation for your social media activity that you're going to be trying to do, whether that's LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, Pinterest, and don't forget YouTube. YouTube is a social media in and of itself. Most people don't think of YouTube as a social media platform, but those views and those comments, the descriptions and transcriptions of your videos, things like that, that's all that's all search indexed. So anything from YouTube can show up in Google as a search result. And Google owns YouTube, so they kind of show it a little bit of preference. So we wanted to just start there and kind of level set the importance of content. I know that content can be really intimidating. And when we say content, people are like, well, what does that mean? And how do I do it? So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Beth's going to share how do you get inspiration. She's going to share some things about, the different types of content and things. But really there's a cycle. There's the plan, produce, promote, and payoff. One of the things that we strongly encourage anybody to do is to create that content calendar. And it can be any type of content that you're going to put out there, but it's an easy way for you to see at a glance, what's available, what do you need to do, and you're going to include the date and the audience that you're targeting, because not all of your customers are exactly the same. So you're going to have different types of customers or people who have different types of pain points. So you want to try to hit a variety of those pain points. You're going to have what type it is. So we're going to talk a minute about what type of content there is, and what channel, which is what social media. Is it going to be on your website? Is it going to be a blog? Is it going to be a Facebook post? And then UTM links. So UTM links are just tracking links that you can build yourself. Google has a Google campaign builder. You will track this in your Google Analytics. If you don't have Google Analytics on your site, or if you don't know how to access it, I would find out from your IT company, find out from whoever's managing your website, to get access to your Google Analytics, because that will be a really big help to you in planning some of that content and really meeting the needs of what people are coming to you for. So your UTM links will help you keep track of who's coming to your site from your social media. And you can make it's a custom URL, so you can make it anything you want that'll help you recognize where that's coming from. Again, when you're planning your content, you want to make sure that you're answering your customers' biggest questions or resolving their biggest pain points, and making sure that you are viewed as the solution of choice. So you don't want to leave the opportunity open for them to go to a competitor or make a different decision. You want to establish yourself as the thought leader, as the solution to their problem. And one of the ways that you want to do that is really focus on the benefits. I have up here features versus benefits. A lot of times, people focus on features, but features of something don't necessarily solve a problem. So you want to focus on the benefit of what they're getting. For example, if you have a dog training, I recently got a puppy, so it's top of mind for everything. So if you have a dog training facility, your feature is that you offer training, but the benefit is that you produce a well-behaved dog for your owner. So the dog is going to be the point that the owner is getting out of that is that they're receiving the training for a well-behaved dog. So they're not going to have to clean up accidents. They're not going to have leash pulling. They're not going to have whining, barking, nipping, biting, things like that. So that's the benefit of a well-trained dog. The feature is that you offer the training. So make sure you're focusing on benefits versus features. You can certainly talk about features, but what does that actually mean to your customer? And then also a variety, like you want to produce a variety of content that is engaging to people. You might have to go through a couple of rounds of finding out what's engaging. And so you just got to kind of play by ear and see what's working and what's not working, and then focus on the things that are working. The second part of this cycle is producing it. And I know that that can sometimes be the most intimidating part out of all of this. And Beth's gonna touch on that a little bit later. But our suggestion is that you just set aside time. Like, I know 30 minutes or an hour, time is valuable, time is precious, but if you can set aside 30 minutes to an hour, once or twice a week, and just focus on producing that content or creating that content, even if you're outlining things to write on later, make sure you're setting aside the time to focus on it, and then you can produce things that way. The third thing is promote. So again, we're going to talk about the right channels, but not every channel is the right channel for everyone. You'll need to figure out where your audience is. I have worked in companies where the audience simply is not on Facebook. Like it could be a younger generation and they simply don't do Facebook. It's not cool to be on Facebook if you're younger. So it didn't make sense for them to play in that sandbox. So you want to play in the same sandbox that your customers are playing in. So finding the right channel, understanding where they're at. The way that you can also do that is by checking out your competitors. See where your competitors are playing. See if they're getting lots of engagement. You know, if they're posting to Facebook and they're getting tons of activity, then there's a pretty good chance that your customers are there and they're going to be finding you there. So it's finding the right channels with the right customers on it. And then the payoff at the end is really building that relationship and offering them more information. So a lot of social media posts are maybe teasers or they're calls to action to get more information. And it's really the opportunity for you to build a relationship, encourage those users to take action with you, whether it's go to your website, fill out a form, download something, give up some information. But that's your opportunity to gain information about your customers. And I would also encourage you to interact with your customers as well. Again, if you have any questions on anything, stop at any point and we can answer them. So this is just a list of types of content. I've mentioned already the various types. This is obviously not an all-inclusive list. There are tons and tons of types of content. These are probably most popular ones and obviously some of the easiest ones for you to come up with. Blog posts live on your site, which is helpful because that's a way to drive people to your site. All of this stuff actually would live on your website, but infographics are very visual. They give information very quickly, and it's easy to understand. Listicles, I think it's just a funny word, but it's just a list. You might have, you know, what are the top 10 benefits of buying your product, or, you know, what are the 5 tips for resolving some problem or something like that. And I would encourage you not to get stuck on like, you know, 5 or 10. Oftentimes, if you use random numbers like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, you know, those are interesting. It catches people's attention because it's not a normal number. It's not a 3, a 5, or a 10, something like that. So, you know, if you come up with 6 or 7, that's totally fine. But listicles are really fun ways to drive interest, especially because you can, for example, let's say you have your top 6 benefits of something, and you can post 1 benefit a day and drive people to the website to see all 6 of those. Calculators, maybe you offer some sort of advantage, or there's a savings calculator that you can produce that shows, you know, what's the savings that you make, that your product brings to somebody. Customer highlights, customers love to be highlighted. It's a way to show appreciation for your customers, and most of them are happy to do it. Case studies are something that you've done really successfully, and it is something that everybody should know about. So doing a case study, and I don't want a case study to be intimidating. It could be just 1 page of information, like the problem, the solution, and the results. Like, it doesn't have to go super in depth or anything, but it's an opportunity to show that there is a really positive result out of an action that you took, and something that you were helpful to a customer for. How-tos and FAQs, these are super easy to pull off because they, you know what your customers' questions are. You know, talk to customer service or talk to anybody who calls and they're like, I'm having a problem with this, or I don't understand this. So use your frequently asked questions to understand, like, what do you need to help people with, and what do you need to solve for people, so that not only does it reduce the number of questions you get, but you're helping solve those problems before they even know that they're a problem. Employee profiles and interviews, you know, a day in the life of a small business owner, or a day in the life of even a CEO or CFO or, you know, business owner. Anything that you can do that's just, you know, highlights the activity that goes on in your company. ebooks and white papers are pretty similar. Ebooks are less technical, but offer more information than what for a blog post, for instance. And then obviously email newsletters and announcements, things like that. So all of these are types of content that you can use on your social media platforms to drive people back to your website. All of these things should have a place on your website somewhere. And so you can post little tiny snippets of each one of these things and drive people back to your website, or drive people to a landing page that encourages them to give up information, or give you, name, email address, or fill out a form, something like that, that you can start building that relationship with them. Obviously, again, this is not an exhaustive list of types of content, but it's the most common. The other thing I wanted to point out is that, so most of your customers are on some sort of buyer's journey. And when I say that, it's the buyer's journey, each one is different for each company, but most of them start with an awareness stage, going into a consideration stage where they know they have a problem and they know they need a solution. And so they've found you, so they're considering you. And then there's a decision stage. Sometimes there are 3 stages, sometimes there are 6 stages. Just depends on how difficult or how complex your buying cycle is, your sales cycle. But for the most part, each customer has those 3 stages, awareness, consideration, and decision. So different types of content can help them make that decision at any point in the buyer's journey. So for example, in the awareness stage, it's really understanding that there's a problem and understanding that there are solutions out there. In the consideration stage, it's kind of acting as proof points. So like your case studies where you've actually highlighted ways that you've helped someone. It's testimonials, it's customer highlights. Those are all things that are helpful in helping that customer make a decision and why you are the right decision to make. And then there's the decision phase. And that is really about like helping or understanding that this is the problem and this is the solution, and you are the right solution for them. So you want to make sure that you're trying to produce content that hits each person within that buyer's journey, so that you can catch them at any point in that buyer's journey. They might come to you with already an awareness. So like those testimonials and those case studies, things like that, that might be where they meet you for the first time. And so they're ready to make a decision, but they need a little help from you. So make sure that you have that variety in all of your content pieces that you're putting out there on social media. I'm going to turn it over to Beth now to talk about how to find out what works for your audience on social, and a couple other things about posting.
Yeah, so kind of like Amanda said, you want to make sure that you're playing in the right sandbox when it comes to choosing your social media channels, because I think one of the biggest mistakes brands make is trying to stretch themselves too thin, trying to be all of the things for every platform, instead of just picking 1 or 2 and doing those platforms really, really well and really fostering those audiences. So the easiest and most straightforward way to figure out where your audience is spending time is to just survey the people who already follow you, the people on your email list, and ask them what they want to see and where they want to see it. Ask them where they spend their time. Ask them what their pain points are. The people who already are interested in what you have to say are the ones whose opinions you should be valuing first and foremost. The second way, Amanda already mentioned that you should 100% have your website hooked up to Google Analytics. It's super, super simple to do. You're basically just claiming ownership of your domain through Google, and then you have access to see so many things on the back end of your website. And one of those things is where your traffic is coming from. And within Google Analytics, it's super simple and clear, because you basically get to see it as like a pie chart, color-coded pie chart that shows you what percentage of your current traffic is coming from where. And one of those pie slices is going to be social media. And when you click on social media, it's going to give you a breakdown of exactly which social platforms your traffic is coming from. And so that's a really, really good first step to say, okay, most of my people are already finding me through Facebook. I should focus on Facebook first and then trickle down to the next busiest one and then the one after that to figure out where I should be spending most of my time. The third way is to conduct secondary research. A lot of people, companies like ours or other competitors have done a lot of best practice research online and aggregated it for you. So whether it's here's the most compelling content that you should be posting on Instagram, or the 9 most effective ways to post on Facebook, or here are the changes that the algorithm have made on Facebook this year. There are a lot of people who spend a lot of time and energy kind of doing that research and pulling that information together and displaying it in an easy digestible way for you so that you can use that information to form your own best practices or find out, where, say you do real estate. There are already tons of articles that are like best practices for sharing real estate content on Instagram in 2020. So that information is out there for you to find when you take the time to look for it. And then Amanda already touched on checking out your social media, your competitors' social media pages. Look at the other players within your niche, whether it's in your geographical area or someone who does what you do in another area, in another state, especially if they do it well and they have a fairly big following. Just poke around on their pages and see what they're doing, see what kind of content is generating engagement, see what people seem to react to, and figure out how you can apply that to how you're showing up for your audience. And then determine what your audience searches for online related to your product or service. So you can do that through simple keyword research. There's a tool called Ubersuggest that does have a paid version, but the basic subscription is free. And so you can pop in your website, you can put in your competitor's website, you can put in a phrase that people, that's related to your product or service that you think people might be looking for. And it's going to show you what the top performing pieces of content are. It's going to show you who's getting the most traffic for those keywords and all kinds of information for free on what people are actually looking for when they're trying to find what you have to offer. All right, Amanda, I'm good to go for the next slide.
Yeah, I'm sorry. One of the things that I forgot to mention about Google Analytics too is that part of the analytics that you can see is what people are searching that are bringing them to your website. So using that language, using that information to your advantage, if you can create content with those keywords, the keywords that are bringing people to your website, then that's an opportunity to grow your organic search. And so you will show up higher in search results if you are matching the keywords and the things that people are searching for. So for example, if you are a real estate agent in Zionsville, just to go off what Beth was saying, a real estate agent in Zionsville and people are searching real estate agent in Zionsville, you might want to use those keywords in your content. And that includes your social posts, because your social posts are also indexed by Google. So you can use the same keywords in your content that you're building also in your social posts, because that's kind of like a 2-for-1 punch. It's a double whammy, so that you're driving people are finding you on social and they're also driving to your website. So Google Analytics is super important.
Okay, so I know a lot of you are probably trying to figure out not only what platforms you should be on, but how you should use those specific platforms, because even if they're owned by the same company, they're not all the same. People don't get on different platforms to do the same things or consume the same information in the same way. Facebook and LinkedIn are really great resources for sharing links, and so pushing your content from your website out to your audience. Here's our most recent blog post. Here's our page where we offer our downloads. Here's the page that talks about our services. But you don't want to just use your Facebook and LinkedIn for that. There's so much variety and there's so much repurposing that you can use to put content out on Facebook and LinkedIn. The first of which, especially now, is to make sure that you have all of your business practices up to date with what's going on right now. Like, people don't know what's closed, what's open. I know when I want to know if a restaurant's doing takeout right now or what their hours are, I open their Facebook page before getting on their website, because I'm assuming that the most current information on what they want people to know is going to be on their Facebook page. So make sure that your business hours are updated. Make sure that you're really getting the information out there as far as what you're offering during this time, because chances are it's going to be different than the way that it usually is. And for Facebook and LinkedIn, and for all of the platforms, really, we spent a lot of time in the beginning talking about creating content and coming up with ideas for content. And you want to put that to work for you with your social media and not try to reinvent what you've already put out there. So take one piece of content and repurpose it in lots of different ways on particularly your Facebook. Like Amanda said, if you have a blog post and it's like 6 tips, so one of your social media posts can be one of those tips, and then you link to the blog post, but you're giving them part of that information already. Pull a quote out from that blog post and turn it into a graphic. Just one of those square graphics that has the quote on it and who it's from, and it's super shareable. Create an infographic out of one of your listicles that has 10 statistics about, we're talking about real estate, Cape Cod houses, like 10 things you didn't know about Cape Cod homes. Take those tips and turn them into an infographic. It's super shareable. It's a new vehicle for distributing the same information. Create a poll, ask a question. These are all different things that you can do that are about the same topic that you've already written one piece of content on, that you can use it to create like 10, 15 different social media posts that look different and serve a different purpose, but you're using the meat of what you already wrote about, so you don't have to create something new. And the really important thing to remember, especially with Facebook and even Twitter and Instagram, is that don't be afraid to post frequently. The people hit that follow button and that like button because they want to see your information and they want to see what you have to say and they want to learn more about your product or your service. So don't ever be afraid that you are talking to them too much, because that's what social media is for. And they've shown up and they've hit that button because they want to see you. And there's a statistic that someone has to see something, the same thing, 7 times usually before they take action. So also don't be afraid to be repetitive, right? Just because you shared this blog post a week ago doesn't mean that you shouldn't share it again, because chances are, especially because of the algorithm, there are a lot of people who didn't see it the first time you posted it. So variety and not being afraid to also be repetitive it is key, because your people want to see what you have to say. And if they see the same information in different ways, it's going to feel new to them, and it's going to feel generous that you're giving that content to them for free. And then to circle back to like polls and questions, I'm sure that you hear a lot about or experience yourselves about the algorithm and how there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of rhyme or reason behind like who sees your stuff and how it gets hidden. But the basics of it, the basic is that people are being shown what they engage with the most. So if someone is following your page and they're getting the opportunity to answer a question or participate in a poll, they're going to be shown more stuff from your page because they've interacted with you. And so asking your audience questions and doing interactive posts like that where they can engage back is a really, really good opportunity for them to be able to keep seeing your content organically, because it's going to keep showing up on their feed. The one caveat I would add to that, and it's kind of crazy, but a lot of people don't know, is that Facebook and inherently Instagram, because they're owned by the same people, they will hide your posts if you say like, comment, or share in it. If your call to action is to tell someone to like it, ask someone to share your content, or to make a comment, it feels like forced sharing and forced advertisement. So the algorithm will hide your stuff. So I know that it seems common sense to like ask what you're looking for, but if you do that, there's a less of a chance that people are going to see it. There are workarounds, like just ask a simple question instead of asking them to comment. Say, what do you think about Cape Cod homes? And then people are going to answer that below. Or say, let us know what you think about this instead of just asking them to comment. So there are workaround ways to encourage engagement without using those specific words. But if you use those words, your stuff's more likely to get hidden. Twitter functions a lot like customer service. I know some brands don't like to interact on Twitter a whole lot because it's really, really fast paced and it can function a lot like a conversation. And it can be pretty negative, right? Because if you think about customer service, a lot of people don't reach out to customer service unless they're unhappy with something. But if your audience is on Twitter, it's good to have a presence on there so that you can have someone available to answer the questions that they have. And with Twitter especially, don't be afraid to post really, really often because like I said, it functions almost like a chat. Like people are just talking back and forth and using hashtags and it happens really fast. So it's shorter snippets of information and you're addressing feedback from your consumers. Instagram, owned by Facebook, as we all know, and whereas Facebook is more like written content, link driven, Instagram is more about short content and really striking visuals. I know that a lot of brands have trouble coming up with like beautiful photos to share on Instagram really often. But you don't have to do that because I'm so sorry, my cat is on my lap. Sorry. You can use user generated content for your Instagram. And what I mean by that is, I know like for marketing right now, we do something called Four-Legged Fridays, where we have people who work on our team share pictures of their pets. And we'll say, tag us in your photo of your pet if you're working from home. And user generated content means that if somebody else who follows you posts a picture and tags you in it, then you can share that photo of theirs. Ask them permission, of course, but it helps you generate content from the people who follow you, and then they're going to be more likely to come and find you because people love to see themselves featured on other people's social media. It's really exciting if a cookie company says like, tag us while you're eating our cookies, and then you post a picture of yourself and your kids eating those cookies, and then like a week later you see yourself on their Instagram, and it feels really exciting. And so you get actual content from that, and then you get engagement because people are going to follow you because they love seeing themselves. And then stories are a huge element of Instagram. And a lot of people feel really intimidated about stories because it feels like a really deliberate thing to share things live. And then it also creates kind of like a panic, like, well, what do I have to say? Like nobody wants to see what I'm doing all day, or I don't know what to share on there. But like I said, if people follow you, they want to see what you're doing. And stories is a really effective way to also ask questions and run polls and let people get like a peek of how you're spending your day or how you make your product or what activities people are doing. Because they like to feel like they are getting like a sneak peek or a behind the curtains view. And if people are watching your stories, that tells the algorithm that they're interested in you. So they will see your posts more on their feed. And then Instagram Live and Facebook Live are really, really big right now. So I know it pushes a lot of people's comfort level to get on and do a live video and put yourself out there because you kind of never know what you're going to get. But Facebook and Instagram love those features right now. So the algorithm again is going to reward you if you're hopping on live. And it's also a great way if you tell people ahead of time that you're doing it to get them to ask you questions, to comment during the video. And it doesn't have to be intimidating because again, you can take that piece of content that you've already created and simply just say it in a video, right? Make it fun. If you have an article that's 5 tips, go through the tips on a video or give an opportunity for people to ask questions. And then you can save that video on your Facebook page and then it also becomes an evergreen post. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn are kind of separate from Pinterest and YouTube because as Amanda mentioned earlier, those 2 social media platforms function much more like search engines than social media because there's less engagement and back and forth and link sharing, and more of people going to those platforms because they're looking to a solution for a problem. So if you think about why you get on YouTube, I mean, I know some people get on YouTube because they want to watch like funny videos, but usually it's how to something, right? I know when I get on YouTube, it's like how to fix my faucet, or how to create a great black eyeliner look, or it's like, you want answer to your question. You want to see visually how to do something, and that's a lot what you turn to Google for. Same thing with Pinterest. People are usually looking for something specific on Pinterest instead of browsing. So you're trying to find a recipe. You're trying to find like how to make an organic cleaning product for your home. You're searching for a solution for how to do something, and you're looking for an answer. So when you put your content on Pinterest or YouTube, you have to think about it in that way. So your description, your title, all need to be really, really clear and related to what that problem and what that solution are. And you can use keywords in the same way, like Amanda was talking about with Google, because if someone's searching for something and you have that word in your video description or in your pin description, then you're going to come up as a result, as an answer to the person's problem that they're looking for. So when you think about Pinterest and YouTube, put them in the Google category in your brain rather than the Instagram and Facebook category. I just ripped through a whole lot of information, so please let me know if you have questions. And I'm sorry if I went too fast, but I want to make sure that we have time to answer some Q&A, because I know we've been talking at you guys the whole time. Okay, so I think I might have gone through some of this already, but the biggest thing to remember for best practices when it comes to social is that you're going to get out of it what you put into it. So if all you're doing is like hitting that button that you hit that automatically shares your post to Facebook after you publish it on your website and expecting that to be enough, you're probably not going to get a whole lot of engagement, because it does take consistency and effort and interaction. And so we already went over that optimizing your articles on your site with keywords and your description with keywords is going to help people find you more easily, and it's going to drive traffic to your website. Fresh, consistent content establishes a thought leadership and authority. When you are constantly posting new ideas and new content, it tells your audience that you know what you're talking about and you're staying up to date, and you're learning best practices and you're sharing with them what you know. And so you're active. I know if I look up a business on Facebook and they never post on there, I assume that like they might not be in business anymore, or they might not know the most on that topic because they're not actively sharing new information with me. And like I said, engage with your audience, respond to their questions and comments. If you're just hitting that button that shares your piece of content on your Facebook and then not going back in to talk about it with people, it looks as if like a robot is running your social media feed, right? So people are going to interact less if they think that there's not a human on the other side ready to talk to them and answer their questions. And then one thing that we didn't talk about, but I wanted to make sure everybody is aware of, that influencer marketing, particularly on Instagram. I know brands get really excited about it, but also intimidated because it looks like it costs a lot of money. But you can run a brand ambassador or a micro influencer campaign on Instagram with people who already love your product or service, and they won't ask to be paid for that. Usually their excitement over partnering with you or using your product or service and getting to use that maybe for free is enough incentive for some people who do have some impact to want to advertise your product with no cost. I think that's it for me. Amanda, you're muted.
Thank you. So I know that we spit a lot of information at you. We wanted to make sure that we had time for questions because I know we did not have time last time. So just being really cognizant of everybody's time today. So go ahead and either send your questions in the chat or shout those out while I'm going through this. Stop me at any time, please. But we are going to share this presentation as well as the social media playbook following this. So that'll give you, that'll help you get started on some of the things. And we talk about all of these social media platforms on them with a couple of best practices. Also to anyone on this call or anyone in the chamber really. So Diane and Lexley, feel free to share this, but we're happy to provide a consultation session with no strings attached. You know, we can help you with your strategy, your content, your e-commerce, email, social, digital advertising, paid or organic social, paid or I guess there's only one paid advertising, but so we're happy to provide a consultation if anybody's interested. Again, that's free and obviously, you know, no strings attached to you. It's open to everyone. We also have what we call a small business offering. So you can learn more about that if you just go to our website at andmarketing.com/small business offer or small business marketing. And that also comes with a free analysis of your website and social media as well. So those things are all free, no commitment, no strings attached. Again, we're going to share the social media playbook in this presentation. So I don't know if there are any questions that we can help answer for you. There's just a little bit about and marketing as well. So, great.
Feel free to add your questions in the chat. If you don't want those, you know, public to everyone, just send it to me, and I'll be happy to read those. And feel free to unmute. I think the best is engaging. You can ask that question, and Beth and Amanda are experts today to help you answer those. So I encourage you all to ask any questions you may have.
We did get one question in from Erin, and she wants to know the tool that we mentioned for putting keywords in. I think the one that Beth mentioned is called Ubersuggest. It's UBERSUGGEST, so Ubersuggest. There's also another tool called SEMrush. So S is in Sam, E is in Edward, M is in marketing, Rush. And that's another tool that you can use to learn more about keywords. One other one that I frequently use, it's called Keywords Everywhere. And that is a Chrome extension that you can add to your Chrome application. So anytime you put something into a Google search, it will automatically populate the things that other people are searching for related to that topic. So it's really easy to identify, you know, what's a related search, what are other people searching for that would produce the same search results, that sort of thing. So I like to use that when I'm just doing a quick search. I'll just put it into Google and then it'll automatically produce that out to the slide. So that's called Keywords Everywhere. But those three are the ones that we use internally. There are paid versions and free versions. Obviously the free one is not as extensive, but it is still very helpful and useful that you don't have to necessarily pay for the paid version.
Yeah, I'd also add that one really useful and kind of fun thing to do when you're just in Google is, we'll use the real estate example again. Say you type Cape Cod homes into Google, and then you'll see towards the bottom, there's going to be like a little box in a section, and it says people also ask. And then underneath that section where it says people also ask is going to be a list of questions that people frequently type into Google that also have that keyword in it. So maybe it's, how much does a Cape Cod home usually cost? Or what are the characteristics of a Cape Cod home? Those are questions that people are asking about that topic. And those are perfect kind of jumping off points to create a piece of content around, right? So create an article or create a social media post that answers that question, because you already know that people are looking for that answer.
Very good. While we're waiting for any other questions to come in, I did want to mention that we are hosting a webinar next week, and it's on LinkedIn company pages. we didn't touch much on LinkedIn company pages, but obviously that's different than your personal LinkedIn that you use typically for your networking or maybe your sales, direct sales, anything like that. So you have your personal LinkedIn page, but LinkedIn also has company pages that can be really helpful in engaging with your audience on LinkedIn, especially if your audience is on LinkedIn. If you're in a very professional industry or people who are very into networking, your LinkedIn company page could be a really useful tool in reaching that audience because it just provides it's basically your digital business card outside of your website. So it's an opportunity to really expand your reach. And we're going to talk on that call. We're with a LinkedIn expert called Bryn. Her name is Bryn Tillman, and she is considered a LinkedIn expert. So she's our partner for that webinar. It is free. I would encourage anybody who's interested in LinkedIn pages to register for that webinar next week. It's on the 28th. And so we can provide the link to that to Lexi, and she can get it out to you, or you can find it on our website under resources.
Thank you, Amanda. I look forward to getting that link and us sharing that. I know that's something that as a chamber organization that we need to enhance, just having that page for us, most certainly it's imperative to connect with other businesses. So we'd be happy to share that and participate in that also as an attendee.
Sure.
Does anybody have any other questions? I know there was so many things, I was taking notes too, but that I wasn't even, aware of. One was asking people to like and share. I didn't know that that was kind of key things that you think that would provide additional engagement, and didn't know that that was more on the negative end. So just being creative in how you're asking that. I know time for everyone is really a limited resource. I've spoken with a lot of businesses and organizations. Social media is not everyone's comfort zone or skill set. So, when we're looking at, your time that you have available in your position with either a for-profit or nonprofit, this might be something that you could outsource to alleviate available time for you, but having the experts really provide that guidance and content and the words, that will really reap the benefits of reaching a broader audience. So I know today there was some great takeaways that people can really start implementing today. I encourage everyone just to pick one thing, see on what they talked about, pick one, whether it's keywords or a poll or, a blog or whatever that is, and just play around with different things and see what really increases the engagement on your social media platforms. Whether it's a webinar or in-person meeting, the one thing I like the best is when you could really leave that event and you can turn around and really put something into action and practice and see great results with that. So thank you for sharing all of those usable tools to help all of us. And when I say we, that means Lexi. She does all of our social media, so. And that's another thing, if you work with a team of folks, find the individual that really is a great skill set of theirs. It's not everyone's greatest skill set, but a lot of people are very good at that and they really like doing that. So kind of as a team, do have those conversations and who is the best person. If you are a very small staff or a nonprofit organization, maybe that's even a volunteer. But most certainly I encourage you, if you can, reach out. Now is the time, we say more than ever, to really get your brand more visible. Whether that's a product or a service or an organization. I think people are probably on social media more now through kind of the restrictions that we've had. So it's the perfect time to reach that audience. Does anybody have any questions? I know there's lots of questions out there. Maybe people need an extra cup of coffee, right?
We might have given everybody like too much to chew
That
on.
was a lot of information. It was. So we look forward to getting, all of that in the playbook from you guys. And we will send out to all of the attendees that registered today. Again, talking about YouTube. We do, with the Chamber, have a YouTube channel. And so the recording of this webinar will be on our YouTube channel also. Because I know sometimes, a lot of times you want to rewatch that, or I know we had people register that weren't able to jump on today, but they'll watch that, at a time that they have available. So it's good information. If you have, again, a team with your organization or business, do a meeting with just your team, and you guys can go over this webinar that Beth and Amanda presented today. So one last call out for questions, and then we will let everyone enjoy their day and get back to doing business. And we hope to see everyone next Friday on the 29th. And watch for information. If you'd like to be on the Chamber's newsletter, if you're not on there, give us a call. We'll get you plugged in with that. We are going to have, we typically do an off the clock, which is the fourth Thursday of the month. We all know that we currently can't do that in person, but our host is UFC Gym, and they will be giving us a virtual overview of their new gym coming to Whitestown. So we encourage you to join in on that. That will be next Thursday from 4 to 5. Watch for information. I love that Beth said, it takes about that 7 touch, because we definitely are wanting to get that out to folks. So we know we send a lot of information to you all, but we just want to make sure you're aware of those tools that you can use to implement, in your role. Thank you, Amanda and Beth.
Thank you.
Thank you so
And
much.
we'll see you next week on the 28th for your LinkedIn.
Yeah, we will definitely share that with you.
Thank you. Have a great afternoon, everyone.
Thank you.